Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara,
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
and today we are here to discuss SnowFall, the last episode ever,
Mm.
season 6, episode 10, titled The Struggle. And before we get started, we are going to ask you guys to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and click that notification bell. So do that ASAP. And so, like we said, this episode was titled The Struggle, and the struggle it was.
And it's a struggle in-house too, because we're gonna get
Yes,
to it.
it is.
Yeah, we've been talking, and I think we should just kind of come out with it. Everybody has seen the finale, everybody knows how it ended. So just give your thoughts on the episode. Tiff, I know you said initial first thoughts was sadness.
Yeah, I was devastated to see it end this way. I'm glad he didn't die. I knew
Mhm.
there wasn't gonna be a happy ending. I figured that. I thought that he was going to end up going to jail, and then there would be like a time jump, and then he would come out of jail and see, how his neighborhood had changed and all that stuff. Had not anticipated this was a nice twist that he was devastated and destitute at the end. But I told y'all offline I had a hard time sleeping. I was devastated and profoundly sad
Mhm.
to see him in that predicament.
Yeah, a lot of people have echoed that. Just like, wow, this is really sad because I think we've all looked at Franklin Saint that we seen in season one, and just to see how it ends with him in season six, and it's not necessarily true to the true story of what happened because we know the real person ended up in jail. So I think a lot of people were expecting Franklin to end up in jail this episode, which did not happen, and I think this was almost a little bit worse.
Yeah, it
I
was worse.
agree. And in fact, I would have rather seen him killed. As I
A lot of
said,
people said that.
and as I said offline, you know, while we know Franklin had done some very dirty, underhanded, devious things, money, and I brought it up offline, money is the root of all evil. And we saw how evil can turn a man into a literal monster. And unfortunately for Franklin, everyone that he literally depended on turn against him, including his mother. And I probably would get a whole lot of oohs and ahs about that. But if you stop to look at it and if we go back to episode 9, his mother wanted Teddy dead at all costs. And we understand why, because she knew that Teddy would come after him. And
Yeah.
she didn't want that. But 10 seconds, he had 10 seconds to get that 37 million. Some say he would have continued in the game of drugs. I believe that he and V, because V was strong enough woman to get him out of it. And I think that 37 million would have been a cool way to do so. Kill him afterwards if you have to. But to just take what life he had, basically what she took that lifeline he had and cut it in half. She just took a pair of scissors and cut that lifeline, which
Yeah.
took him so far off the edge. If he had 1 foot off the cliff, that was the thing that pushed him all the way
Yeah.
because he had no other way.
So the argument has kind of been about the money, and whether if he had gotten the money, would he have been any better off? Because we know that the money, it's not necessarily the money itself that turned him into a monster. It was the obsession with the money. Because Franklin Ben had money and he kind of lived a pretty modest life for the most part. He wasn't super flashy. I mean, he had a nice place, but he wasn't, flamboyant with his money necessarily. So I
He had
don't
a
think it was
plane.
the
He had a
money.
plane.
I
Yeah, he
mean,
had a
but
plane.
I'm talking about he wasn't throwing it into people's face,
Right, right.
So he was pretty modest in that regard. And I don't think it was the money itself, but towards the end, and Ron, you brought this up offline, he became obsessed with the money and the fact that so much had been taken from him. It's like his life that he wanted because of that money got stolen. Like they pulled the rug from under his feet. And so he kind of had this bitterness about him.
The
Um,
money, as the money shows, I tend to alter that in a sense to say yes, it's the money because of and more importantly, I say more importantly than the money itself is the way it was extracted from him, the way it was just simply taken from him.
Yes.
And as I said, as a man, when a man amasks something, it doesn't have to be millions and millions of dollars, but when a man sees himself as the provider and he amasks something, a wealth, a certain amount of wealth that's going to take care of him and his family, and then it's stolen from him. I mean, just outright stolen. That's enough to send any man into a raging bull. Now you take $70 million that's stolen from him, and then he somehow comes to a rationalization, if you will, even from a crazy mind, but he comes from a rationalization to split 70 million and walk away with 37 million, knowing that back in the 70s, 37 million is probably the equivalent of about what 60 million today. I don't know, I'm just rounding off some figures.
I would take it today.
Yeah, most definitely. And then to have that taken away from him within 10 seconds is enough to make you crazy. And I'm saying he was already there. We know he was already there, but you made him an animal after that.
And then add to it the fact that V turned around and stole from him again.
Oh my.
Right. But look, y'all, look. Now I gotta play devil's advocate. I gotta play devil's advocate here because I would have been angry too. He had every right to be angry. However, I'm not sure, and I said this to you guys offline, that even within that 10 seconds, the 37 million, that he would have ever got that money. I do not trust the CIA. I had no doubt that Teddy and them would have hunted him down, just like he hunted his father down in Cuba. The deal was before, and we talked about this in previous episode, that when Sissy and Alton was to go to Cuba, that was supposed to be it. They were never supposed to come back again, and Teddy followed them there. I have no doubt that it wouldn't have been the end of it. I don't think that he would have gotten the money. I know that from what I read with Sissy, Michael Hyatt, who plays Sissy in the article, the sacrifice, she said, when her being in Cuba was life altering for her. And so her being there and seeing what the government has done to our folks and everything like that, it was about that. It was about the government. It was about protecting Franklin, because she felt that she was also saving his life, because she thought that them turning Teddy over and not killing him, they would have killed Franklin. Eventually, they would have probably, even if they allowed him to get the money for a hot second. What I was telling my son, what I wish Franklin would have done, I wish, like, his biggest mistake, I think, was telling Teddy he was leaving the game and stuff, because it gave Teddy time to jack his money. I think I would have just bounced, and I would have had my money, and I would have told Louie and them, like, hey, I'm gone. Called in from an undisclosed location. Louie, you want to stay in? You got it and stuff. Don't tell what's it called where I am. Like, you got it.
Okay.
And yeah, I would have bounced, and I would have never. But he thought at that point that he and Teddy were friends. Yeah. And so he tried to be respectful and give Teddy a heads up. But I wish you'd have just bounced.
No, you are 100% right in the bounce category. He should have just split, not told anybody until he went wherever he was going to get. I get that, but it didn't play out like that. And so basically, I'm just simply saying, for instance, now you mentioned not killing Teddy would have been more detrimental to him. Absolutely. My point is, hey, Sissy, couldn't you just wait until he got the money, then kill him? My whole point is,
and that's the thing, because he still didn't end up any better off by not getting the money.
Exactly.
And I think that's the point that everybody's seeing this episode, is just how horrible life turned out for Franklin. And it's like, okay, you're trying to prevent him from turning into a monster because of the money, but he's a shell of himself without the money.
She already thought he was a monster. That's why she did what she did.
Well, I understand what she was thinking, but the point is, he still didn't turn off any better with you doing it. Exactly. So that's what I'm like, it kind of defeated the purpose a little bit. And you thought, if the point was to protect him, I don't know if that was the right move, because
it
He
protected him
literally
in the
lost
sense.
his mind.
Yes, he
Exactly.
did. But it protected him in the sense that the CIA did not kill him.
We can only
Because
surmise
he was
that, though, Tiff. We can only
he was no
surmise that.
longer a threat. He was no longer a threat because
Tiffany, he wouldn't have been a threat if he had done like you said he should have done in the very beginning. If he had just bounced, he wouldn't have been a threat to. In fact, he wasn't a threat to Teddy because, as you just said, he thought that he and Teddy were friends. And so, if anybody knew what they were going to do ultimately was Teddy. Teddy knew that he was going to keep him at bay and make him think that they're friends. And I'm almost sure Teddy had at some point in his mind to get rid of him. So if anybody had,
absolutely.
so if anybody had any desire to kill, would have been Teddy. Unfortunately, he got wrapped up into thinking that he and Teddy were buddies and that he could
Yeah.
live, happily thereafter with him, which was unfortunate. But I'm just looking at, as you just said, Tiara, if he had had the money and was able to get away, he was already a monster. You couldn't make him any bigger monster than he already had turned into be. So you might as well just give. It's like a mad dog. Feed him, for God's sakes. He's already a mad dog.
The point is also that he wasn't planning to get the money and stay in the game. He was planning to get the money and legitimize.
Exactly.
So that
absolutely.
Exactly.
I wanted that for him.
Exactly.
I wanted that for him. And Teddy took that away from him because he wanted to reduce him and let him know that you are nothing without me.
But I'm not blaming Teddy for that. I'm talking about Sissy, because if you know what Franklin was trying to legitimize, then let him get the money to legitimize. Now he doesn't have that opportunity.
But she did not trust. You got to think too that
I know, I get it.
Black Panthers. They were in Cuba and stuff. He came to Cuba and killed her husband when they said that if they left the country, he wouldn't do that. So
it's
she
not
had
about
no,
that,
she had
I
no
think that
reason.
she could have let him get the money and then still kill Teddy.
But she had no confidence that he was going to actually get the money.
But she also didn't have.
We never know now.
Right, and she also didn't have the understanding that her husband is not Franklin. Franklin is notorious. Her husband wasn't. Franklin has the ability to know when something's about to go down and when something isn't. Her husband was just a civilian. He didn't know anything. Yeah, he used to be in the Black Panther Party and all that. But that doesn't mean he was dealing with the circumstances that Franklin had come up with. So if Franklin was going to bounce, he probably would have done so where Teddy couldn't have. And even with 37 million, he could be from afar and have somebody kill Teddy. So there are so many circumstances.
But we still talk about the CIA though.
But the CIA. That's what I'm saying. But Tiffany, the CIA didn't bother him, whether he was a threat or not. The CIA.
It didn't bother him anymore because he was no longer a threat. He had no
Tiffany,
money.
anytime that you are a walking human being and knowing what history, you are a threat to the CIA. Just because he didn't have the money doesn't make him a non-threat. He would have been his mouth, the information that he had makes him a threat. Not just having the 37 million.
But nobody, look at how he was regarded at the end, Ron.
But that's my point to you.
The way Franklin was reduced at the end, anybody, if he would have talked the CIA stuff and everything, they would have thought he was crazy. That he's
but the
junkie.
CIA did not know how he was
neutral.
He was neutralized. CIA did not know how
he was no longer a
but
threat.
Tiffany,
so there was
the
no
CIA does not have a crystal ball and could not have determined how he was going to turn out. No one knew that until the end. So my point, I'm not saying that the CIA said at the end, look at him, he's just a worthless nothing. He's got no home, he's got no life. He's just
but like, who's going to believe him? Like, I'm just saying they could look like, because he had been reduced to nothing.
But we didn't know that was going to happen.
He no longer had the stature.
Let me say the conversation a little bit though, because I don't want to get too caught up in the.
Yeah, but one other thing too, he had $800,000 that V took from him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why did she take it from him?
Well, no. Let's not go to the why yet. Let's not. No, I'm saying he still had some money. So he was a threat, even if the CIA didn't know how much a threat he is. So, and now we get V, which we thought was going to do it anyway with her mom. So what does she do? I mean,
I'm not saying that she should have gone behind his back, but at first she was rocking with him. She was like, come home. We'll work this out. But he was not in the right state of mind and she was trying to tell him what they could do with the money. She was trying to make moves. Now, remember, before all this happened, she was his lawyer. She did have a stake in all his stuff. So she was trying to tell him when he came home and she's pregnant and he put hands on her, she was like, oh no. Remember, her mom had already told her a couple episodes ago. She was like, your man is unraveling. He going crazy. You need to go. And so she
was
like,
her last straw.
She was like, no. I'm going to stand by him. But when he put his hands on her, she was like, oh, no.
Ghost and Angie. Ghost and Angie all over again. Here's power all over again.
But see, what she could have done is try to at least give him the feeling that he had the chance to voice his opinion about it. She had already made moves behind his back, which was kind of the problem. And so that's where she messed up.
Exactly.
She did mess
because
up
for somebody who already feels like they've had so much taken to them, now you taking my last little bit of change that I do have, and you make him.
She was wrong for that.
So we got to get the hands for. I mean, she got the hands for that.
She was
wrong. She did.
No,
she was wrong for that. But at the same time, looking at how Franklin's rationale and stuff, like how. I don't understand how I feel like you can communicate and it would sink through to Franklin. Like he was unhinged. Like I don't. She was even trying to say when he told her that he sold the buildings to the other one, she was like, "We're going to take a loss." Like she was trying to rationalize with him, but he was not in the right state of mind. He would not have heard her regardless.
No, he did.
But think about the phases that Franklin went through this episode.
That's my
point. From demanding $3 million from Leon and not being able to get that, to trying to salvage what he could of the $800K, not getting that, going to the safe and only finding $12K.
$12K, exactly.
Now, I was sad for Miguel. I was like,
Franklin got to get the hands for that.
He got to, because he didn't have to kill him.
You could have let Miguel go, Franklin. That's how I knew he was really far gone at that point.
And you know what I thought? I thought by him telling Miguel to take the money, he became an accomplice, because in effect, you're stealing the money from that house. So he said, go ahead, Miguel, take the money, knowing that, hey, I don't have to worry about you. You got the $12K. If something goes down, you point at me. I can point back at you and say, where'd you get the $12K from? Because that man didn't look like the kind of guy that would have $12K sitting in the bank just waiting to be, If
Franklin hadn't killed the junkie that bust in, I think he would have let Miguel have the money. It's
agree.
The fact that he witnessed him kill that dude that he's like, oh no, I can't have this come back.
Yeah, but look at it this way. Look at it this way. If it were me and I saw all that and you told me here's the $12K and I put it in my pocket, once I left, I'm as much responsible, because how would it look you going to the police and say, yeah, so-and-so did this, killed the guy, and then in trial, things are going to come up, and Franklin says, well, there was $12K that he stole out of the safe. Who knows whether that was recorded money, whether it was written on paper? Who knows whether anybody could have found, yes, there was $12,000, and oh my God, you got $12,000 sitting in your account. All of a sudden, didn't look like the kind of job that would pay you that kind of money in one visit.
Regardless, Franklin wasn't letting that dude out of there to bring something like that back up. You know, it's got to close, loose ends can't be left. You know,
that's what my son said, because I was just like,
unless
when it
you
happened,
make that loose end an accomplice.
I was like, Franklin.
Yeah, and we finally got a little bit of closure on the Peaches situation.
Yeah, we've been waiting.
So we've been asking the whole season. I'm glad they did at least give us some closure with that. Right. We see the Peaches was strung out. He done blew through all of the millions.
$5 million.
On drugs and nonsense. So, I really, when he told Franklin that he still had all the money in the safe, I was like, Franklin, you cannot believe that this junkie didn't spend that money.
It was a pipe dream for him. I mean, like you said before, he was so distraught that any sense of rationale just went right straight through him. He couldn't rationale anything. And he said he had the money. He's, oh my God, figuring that he would have, but the fact that he saw that needle in his arm should have said something to him.
Yeah.
The condition of the house
and the condition
when
of the
they
house.
pulled up, the way that he was living and everything.
Yeah,
I didn't think he had anything left.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
I thought Franklin had gotten shot because he got a round off first, and Franklin kind of bent back. I thought he got shot in the stomach or something, but it apparently just missed him, and Franklin put two in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, hey, Peaches, you deserve to die. You stole the man's money, and now you're lying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Your hands were gotten. You
Yeah.
got what you deserve.
Mm-hmm. And then, talking about Louie, because, her situation, she didn't have a really good outcome either. I mean, we seen that she went somewhere working on some horse farm, and is hiding out from the DEA, having the people cover for her. So it was just unfortunate all the way around that every single one of these characters lost so much.
Yeah,
But
wasn't it the stable that she had
yeah,
ownership? She was
right.
partnered with the woman.
But think about it this way, though. She's the one that really gets off because of the fact that they covered for her. And guess who
Yeah.
will be back
Yeah.
there? The DNA is not going to come back there looking for her.
Yeah.
So she's got, so say she works there for another couple of years, 3 years, 4 years. As far as the the DEA is concerned, they're not going back there. And so she has at least a new start on life because she can go someplace, change her identity, whatever the case may be. But Franklin, he walks off into the sunset.
Well, I don't know about that though, because Louis had already changed her identity. Her name, they was asking about a
Carla. Yeah, Carla Huggins. Yeah,
no. But what I'm saying is,
and they're not going to go back.
Her, so. But they're not going to go back to that stable looking for because they look like they were very believable. Know. They were a very believable group, and and they did make a very sensible argument. They said we get a lot of flagrants who come and go within a couple year period, and they do. I'm sure they do. Because that's not a 9 to 5 kind of job. You know what I mean? You come,
but nobody wins though, because you always looking over your shoulder. You constantly worried about the what ifs.
Well, that's the life. That's
you
the
go
life
from having a life of luxury and millions,
still looking over your shoulder,
but also kind of living a lesser lifestyle. So it's like
she's got to get used to that.
Nobody really won in this situation.
Well, she's got to get used to her new lifestyle. I agree with that, but at least, I mean, look what Franklin lost. He lost every single thing.
Everybody lost everything.
And the house, the police pulled up at the house, thinking that he was inside, and now he was even losing. So where does he go? And this was the part that was the saddest of all, as far as I'm concerned. Even when Leon said, I'll pay the back taxes and fix up the house.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no, man, no, don't do it. And I know where it came from. I think Franklin, like he said, he was free. He was tired. And and tired and beaten, and just that's slow suicide. What Franklin did. It's just a slower method of killing yourself because he didn't accept anything. His mind was so destroyed that he couldn't even see the glimmer of light that Leon was trying to give him.
He was broken.
He was so broken that he couldn't see anything from that.
He also became his father because as we saw Alton in the beginning, Alton was the one that was the alcoholic and everything. And as we came to know Alton when he kicked the addiction, he was a good man. He was, a Black Panther. He cared about his community, and it was the system that broke him down. And in the end, that's what happened with Franklin. The system broke him down. His desire for this money and dealing with the government, all of this stuff broke him down. Mm-hmm. Something I had wanted to say when we were talking about the Peaches thing, the thing that got me is that we're thinking that he left the country and he was only 25 miles away from Franklin that entire time.
Pulled the fast one.
I mean,
and it was just like, wow, nobody saw him doing that.
The old saying, the best place to hide something is in plain sight. And that's exactly what we saw here. You would expect to look for him hundreds and thousands of miles away, not 25 minutes away. Mm-hmm. So it goes by the old adage, best place to hide something is in plain sight. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about somebody who did have a little bit better of an outcome, Gustavo. It seems like he made it to safety. He's kind of coaching people in wrestling and stuff, kind of an extension of his old lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So he seems like he's, settled in and doing well. But he also gets the call from Ziamara that she's in North Carolina and settled with the kids, and they really want him to come and visit.
Don't
I don't know if
go.
that's a good idea.
I
Don't
get ready
go.
to say.
Yeah, because they'll be waiting on him if he pulls up to North Carolina. I think if he wants to see Zia again, they need to come to Mexico
Right,
Right.
because if
exactly.
he steps foot back in the states,
Yeah, he's
best
done.
believe he gonna be
It's
joining
crap.
Sissy in
Eh,
the band. So, so
yeah.
he needs to, Zia because when I heard that message, part of me I was like, I'm happy for Oso, but part of me was like, the feds put her up to making that
Yeah,
call. I was like, they trying to set
And
Oso
look,
up.
right.
they could be tapping her line. We don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. They
stay your
can't go
butt
over
where
to
you are.
Mexico and get him, but if he go to
Exactly.
North Carolina, they gonna grab him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Absolutely. So I guess what this leaves us with is the new spinoff that is coming based on Wanda's character. So we seen that Wanda actually got fed up and she decided to head back to Ghana. And Leon, after talking to Sissy, eventually decided to go back to Ghana as well. And he only came back a few years later, when he seen Franklin all busted and beat down. But it seems like he has also been made out kind of well. So it was good to see that Leon lived. I was worried about him as well. I was like, is this gonna be the episode that it happens? But it seems like most people survived. And Leon and Wanda, I'm looking forward to seeing if the spinoff involves them still being involved in the drug game, or because Leon mentioned that he had a legal clinic that he had opened up as well, that he was trying to get Franklin involved in. That obviously Franklin declined. But I just want to see where they're going to take the spinoff, and if Leon will be in it too. You guys have any thoughts about that? Because
Well,
we've seen this is the 80s portion of the crack phase, but what about the 90s? I
Well,
think
that was
that's where they
actually, yeah, actually it was like right in the beginning of the 90s because
right,
they
right,
showed the nod to John Singleton. They were actually filming Boys in the Hood,
right.
as Franklin and
Franklin.
what's it called
they
was
walk
walking.
past.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
cool. That was cool.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was interesting when Wanda asked, "Aren't you going to try to get me to stay?" And I fully understood Leon. No, I don't. In fact, he probably more than anything wanted her to go because he knew that the longer she's there, the more probability that her life's at stake. Not to mention falling back into the drug thing. So, I Leon to me was a stand-up character. All from I don't know, once he got his head together, he just
Mhm.
became a very stand-up kind of guy. And
Mm-hmm.
and he
Yeah.
showed me that by giving her the money and saying, no, 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 you're not going to go down there and make do of a life. No, here's the money. You take this money and you go and you
Mm-hmm.
live. And to me, that's what I'm talking about. A man
Yeah.
who can control his destiny as well as his family's destiny, and that's what he did. He controlled the destiny of Wanda, and that's what he wanted to do as a man. And that is what I appreciate. Being a man and standing up to doing the right thing, even if it may, have some, even though it may be painful, and you may lose out in the end. He did what a man was supposed to do: take care of his
Mhm.
family
And I was
And he
glad.
also, oh, I was gonna say he also made sure to take care of the community too when he
and the
was
community.
volunteering to continue to fund the
Exactly.
shelter and whatnot.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Exactly.
Leon has always been a very stand-up dude. And in fact,
Exactly.
Sissy said, you were my greatest surprise.
Yes,
Exactly.
and she helped raise Leon. Like she was the
Exactly.
one that influenced him. Like when he killed the baby,
Mm-hmm.
Khadijah's and child and stuff, and Scully's child and everything. You can tell that that was the turning point for Leon.
I
And
agree.
Yeah.
remember when she came to the hideout and braided his hair and she comforted him and everything. And she was
Mm-hmm.
the one that advised him, like, go with your wife, go get your wife. And I was so glad
Yep.
because when I was watching that scene with with Wanda and she was saying she was gonna go and he wasn't gonna come after her and he was gonna stay because he felt like he had to atone. and stuff. I was like, I get that you want to atone, but I was like, please go with your wife. Please
Please.
go to Ghana right now.
Yeah, and just it was just a very emotional because we know Sissy and Leon have this really close bond. Like they're almost like mother and son themselves. And so I was glad that he took her advice because otherwise I don't think Leon would have made it.
He wouldn't have made it. He wouldn't have
And
made
I
it.
think Sissy said the same thing to him. She expressed as much. Um, but I kind of just wanted to go back to the times that Franklin visited Sissy in jail because the first time he visited, he was trying to get her to accept the legal help. The second time, he was also asking for her to hand over the house, sign over the paper so I can sell the house. And when she wouldn't do that, then he started going off, like just cursing her out.
It was really
calling her out
disrespectful.
her name.
He
I
was
was like,
really disrespectful.
Franklin gotta get the hands and
I
the
was like,
Well,
that.
Franklin,
yeah,
you really out of pocket for that.
yeah, but remember too, I don't know if it was, I think it was shortly before that when he just went there and just asked her, why did she do what she did? Why didn't she just let uh,
Let him get the
Teddy
money.
get that 10 seconds? And she looked at him with that jailhouse stare and didn't say a word. And I can't speak for that kind of emotional distraught that Franklin must have had when his mother wouldn't even open her mouth to his question. But I can only imagine because how destroyed he was. He wanted to hear something from his mother, and all she did was looked at him like he was crazy.
Because she was done with him. We talked about this
I
offline.
know, but you can be done and still have some.
She was
Tiffany,
done.
Tiffany,
She was done.
I know you wouldn't be that done with your son. I know you wouldn't. I know you would have a place in your heart.
Look,
I
don't
know
look.
you would, Tiff. Don't even come there.
Ask my
I'm
son.
not even. No, I already know. I already know.
No. The thing is this: he made his choice, and I'm just saying what she also said in the in the article. He made his choice when she asked him in episode 9 that if you pursue this, are you okay with never seeing me again? He said yes. So when he made that decision, when you make that decision, you stand on it. You
But
stand 10 toes down. So when you coming to me and
Tiff,
you're asking me,
Tiff,
oh, I just want to know this.
Tiff, Tiff,
No, that
Tiff,
means no.
Tiff. Our children,
We
make
already said goodbye.
our children make all kinds of decisions when they decide to leave the house, and then 2-3 years later they want to come back. My whole point
But
is.
she said he was lost. She said, I'm done.
But remember, she only said that because he wanted to keep Teddy alive, and she didn't. And so that was the premise in which she made that point. And so, and I think that was a bit harsh to say, if you're going to keep Teddy alive, I don't want anything else to do with you. That, to me, that was a little harsh. But
well, the thing is, she knew that Teddy. She knew we all knew that Teddy. It was not going to be the end of it if they did not get, and that's what she knew. I know that she wanted Teddy dead. She did.
Right.
She wanted vengeance and stuff. But the other half of it is because she knew that Teddy, CIA, government, that this would not be the end of it. That it wasn't going to end well, and so she decided, as his mother, I'm going to eliminate the threat. And yes, he lost the money in it. He lost the money, and I'm sorry he lost the money. But she was like, I'm going to make sure this man never comes back after my
but
son.
check this. He had one ace up the sleeve, and that was the Russian spy, Ruben. So he had one ace up the sleeve. And what did the CIA do? They gave him an alternative. They said, you turn him in, unless you want to spend the rest of your life in jail.
Right.
Turn over Ruben. And he turned over Ruben, and he was able to go. So my point is,
but
he always had that.
Why didn't he use that as leverage for the money? Well, I guess he had, because he
didn't need
that was part of the
Ruben.
money,
right? But he didn't need Ruben at that particular time. He needed Teddy, and now that Teddy is dead, and
but they still wanted the KGB because the KGB.
Of course, they wanted the KGB.
So,
that's why. But that's what my point being is. The reason that they let him go is because they made a deal. They made a deal for the Russian, and that you stay out of jail, and they let him go. And right, so they wanted, and you know what? It makes sense. They wanted the KGB more than they wanted Franklin.
Yes, but I'm saying that while Franklin still had him, why didn't he negotiate to try to get the money then with them.
Because they didn't have the code. Only Teddy had the code. So
yeah, but the government, they could have found that out. He was calling,
man,
but he had already called the
we
escrow
don't know
people.
that for sure.
Well,
Only thing we know for
The
sure,
government can find stuff.
the only thing we know for sure is Teddy had the code and he got 2 bullets in the chest for it. So and the case and look, if that's the case, then the CIA could have called Franklin and said, "We got the codes. You give us the Russian, we'll give you the code."
Well,
right, that's what I'm saying. I wanted Franklin to use that as leverage because he was the one that had proven. But he used it to stay out of jail, which was smart. However, I would have kept trying to work the angle with the money. Like, okay, he gone. What can you guys do? Can you get, because Parissa could have had the code.
Right. And that's one thing I wish that we could have seen, like him trying to reach out to her or reach out to the ex-wife. I wanted to see a little bit more of him trying to get the code, trying to still get that money instead of just letting it flow in the wind, just letting it go. So that was the one thing that I thought we might see that didn't happen. It was a lot. This episode was really sad, and honestly I felt like last week could have been the season finale. Honestly, that would have been the perfect ending, but to come back with this episode that was just so sad and draining, and it was really depressing to see where Franklin ended up. I was like, oh, I don't know, y'all might have could have kept this one.
but it was realistic though, because
it was real, because that's what happens.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of Franklins in the hood. And stuff, and a lot of people filled with promise. It was a dream deferred.
And think about the CIA. They make deals like they made with Franklin all the time with all kinds of people. If they want something, if you got something they want, they'll make a deal with you. And so because their ultimate goal is their ultimate goal, and a lot of times you're just a peon.
You're just a pawn, but you know how they do though. So a lot of times when they get what they want, then you're expendable. Well, that's I think that was what Sissy Spear was. Like once you get what they want from you, you're no longer
like I said earlier, I would have rather seen him killed than for him to go out the way he did.
It was realistic, but he had a big fall from glory.
Yes. Oh my God.
It was rough to watch. The struggle was a very fitting title.
Yes, it was.
On FX, they got a clip. I saw it online at the rise and fall of Franklin Saint, and it has all the clips of where he was when he was going through all 5, 6 seasons and stuff. And I'm like, wow. It made me want to watch the season again. I mean, not the season, the whole series. Like I was live tweeting the show and everything, and some people was like, I'm gonna watch it again. I said, you know what? I think I would like to go back to season 1 and just start all over again.
I mean, think about how green he was. He didn't even know how to sell drugs. He was making all these stupid mistakes, getting beat up by the neighborhood thugs. He was out there, basically just scared to kill. And then once we seen that shift in him to killing, the neighbors, the police officer,
Andre,
he kept going downhill from there. And it was like, Franklin really had a lot of character development in a negative way.
And that's what Sissy saw, because remember, I think about when you speaking of Franklin killing Andre, his father peeped it and put Sissy on the game. She was just like, when he went and stayed with Rob, she's like, when does he ever stay in the valley and stuff? Like his movements was changing, and that was part of the reason why Alton did what he did, because he was trying to save the family. He was out in the CIA. Of course, we thought the way he went about it and stuff, but he was trying to save his family by speaking out and stuff, and he ultimately got himself killed. And so what Sissy was doing, she in fact was trying to do the same thing. She was trying to save Franklin.
And I think back to when he was scared to lie to her, trying to sneak out of her house and stuff. Yeah. And here we are, this episode, he's calling her a B and saying he wished Teddy would have blown her head off.
Oh, yeah, he was out of pocket.
Well, he was out of his mind.
How far we have fallen.
Yeah, he became that demon that money talks about all the time when it comes to money. and that's why I said, Sissy, if you really opened the other eye, you would have
Mm.
seen that your boy was already gone. And
She
saving
she knew
him,
it.
no, but my point is, you could not save him. He was already gone. So whether you gave him the chance to get the money or not, Franklin was gone. There was nothing you can do to save him. And so, sometimes you just have to understand he's out. He's done. His mind is gone.
But
So
she was trying to physically save his life.
that to me,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
again, my argument there,
It's a
I
toss
mean,
up
it's a toss up. And
because it could have gone either way.
I agree. It's
mm-hmm.
a 50-50 chance either way. And I think at least give him half the chance of getting some dignity back because that's what he lost.
Yeah,
He
Oh yeah,
lost
he
who he
lost
is.
everything. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And so give him at least half the chance and let's see what happens.
yeah,
He was gone either way. Like you said, it was really just a flip of a coin how he would go.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he went the least of these, as far as I'm concerned. To be so out and destitute and not have a dime and not even have your right frame of mind. So
Mm-mm.
you're
Mm-mm.
lost in the street, and you don't even have your frame of mind. So we know that that it's just a slow. I call it a slow
Well,
suicide.
he slowly killing himself with alcohol and stuff too.
Well, yeah,
Like the
exactly.
yeah.
way he's living, he's killing
Oh,
himself.
Yeah,
I wanted to mention that the alcohol that he consumed this episode, it went from just a little shot at the bar to chugging whole bottles like back to back to back. So you could just see the deterioration. And then, it's just, these, like you said, talking about real life, how people have these mental crises, and there's no help in the community, especially back in those days,
mm-hmm.
to get them people back on track. And here he is, he has a child out here in the world that he'll never see.
Yep.
You know,
And what's the call told him, like, have some solace that I'm raising him right. And this, I was like, wow, wow.
Yeah.
The line about him being the sexy chocolate, right?
Oh, he cracked me up.
Yeah, he said he can't keep a woman. This sexy chocolate.
That was funny.
That's
Yeah.
funny, but he's right. He's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this episode, I mean, I did appreciate them kind of showing us where Franklin ended up, but I just didn't. I wasn't feeling how he turned out. I mean, I know that it's the realistic take, but it was so sad.
Oh, it was devastating.
Yeah.
I told you, it was really unsettling for me, and it took me a long time to go to sleep because I kept thinking about it, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I would love to talk to Damson. So Damson, if you out there, you watching, we would love to interview you about how things ended. So we're gonna go ahead and put it out there.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
But your gameplay, your character, the whole construct of who you became, who you are, and who you are as an actor, it's just I don't know if I've seen much better than that. I'm telling you, I've seen a lot of great actors, but Franklin, you up there with me.
Damson,
Clap
yeah,
it up
yeah.
for
I
Damson.
did.
I mean,
on Twitter, look, I tagged Emmys like, you guys better remember these performances when wartime come around because he deserves.
Yeah.
And
He
this role
deserves.
really put him on the map.
No,
A lot of people found Damson interest through this show. And I think that he has only continued to step it up. He takes you there emotionally. He puts you in the feelings of whatever Franklin is going through. So I mean, he crushed this performance.
He bodied it.
You make me call you Franklin forever. I mean, because
this is one of them roles.
One of those roles that you just can't, I will never I can't ever remember a role that was so realistic and had so much to it that your namesake, I respect you with it, but Franklin, you're forever Franklin to me. So.
Yo, shoot, most people are gonna be like that when they have a role that they just body.
He crushed it.
He did. So I hope they remember him. It would be a shame to overlook his performance the next time the Emmys roll around. He better get a nod.
Yeah, we may have to do a show on that if they don't. We may have to come back.
I sure did tag him though. I was like, listen.
And really to the whole cast, because everybody has held their own.
No, that's
every
absolutely.
single last one of them.
Every
Amy Joseph crushed his role.
And he directed.
Yes, Angela Lewis. You have Michael Hyatt, then Isaiah John. Of course, you have Wanda's character played by Gail Bean. They all did such a great job, even down to Carter Hudson as
Carter
Teddy.
Hudson.
He really made you, hate him at
hate
moments.
him. Also, Sergio.
Yes, all of them. They
absolutely
really bodied this whole series.
Absolutely. It's going to be a long time before we can ever see a series like this one.
And I said it last week. I'll say it again. I really think that John Singleton would be really proud of how things turned out. And it's not easy when you lose such a big part of a show, to pick up the torch and carry on and continue to keep things quality. And I think they have done that very well. So I think that, John will be immensely proud of what they have done. So I'm just going to clap it up.
Much respect.
The whole cast, the whole crew, the writing team. I think they did a great job, the writers, keeping us on our toes this season, because so many predictions that we thought might happen didn't happen. And some things that we never could have even thought of came to fruition. So, I mean, I can't praise this show enough. It's really sad to see it go. But I'm hoping that the spinoff will provide us some of the great, quality that this show brought. You guys got anything else you want to throw out there?
I think Ron and I, you got your shirt on, our grind to rich t-shirts by what's it called? DeAndre Bond's clothing line.
Yeah, who played Scully.
Scully.
I'm wearing my bling, but I call it blink because
well, y'all. So is there anybody? I mean, we said a couple of people could have got the hands. We talked about V, we talked about Franklin. Anybody? Well, I'm gonna give Peaches the hands too. I think Peaches got the bullet, but
Peaches got the hand.
He deserves the hands for sure.
Anybody that you guys think can get the game ball? I got somebody in mind, but I'm wondering who y'all.
Leon for sure. Leon.
Damson Idris.
I was gonna say Leon.
Leon can get the ball, game ball on the show. Damson Idris for his portrayal of Franklin. Can get the game ball for me.
Yeah, I agree both ways. So this has been great. I really enjoyed talking. I knew that we were going to get into it a little bit about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
It brought back the days of power. Me and Tiffany going at it nose to nose.
I mean, because it's so many different ways that this could have gone. It's like if only she just would have held out, what would have happened?
I said the same thing when I saw it in real time. I was like, oh, I wish she would have waited. But then when I think about it, I was like, I'm not convinced that he would have got the money anyway.
Well, I said it last week on our social media, which if you aren't following, make sure you follow us at the Spot Real Talk on all major platforms. But I said to one of our commenters that I felt like episode 9 of season 6, that will go down as one of the greatest moments in TV history. I think that's going to be one of those ones that everybody remembers. Everybody remembers the Will Smith episode with his father. Everybody remembers like certain episodes of certain shows. And I think when you speak in SnowFall, everybody will remember that moment when Sissy shot Teddy. So, I mean, that just speaks again to the great performance by the cast and the crew writing behind the scenes to make such memorable moments like that.
But we'll remember 10. We'll remember 10 because of what Franklin turned out to be. What he turned out to be, it's going to be etched in my mind.
So this was good though. I enjoyed talking with you guys today. To all the viewers out there, please drop down in that comment section and give us your thoughts on this series finale. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know how you wanted things to turn out, or if you were happy with how things ended, if you felt like it was true to real life. Also make sure that you head over to our social media. Like I said, follow us there at the Spot Real Talk on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Please also make sure you subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell and the like button to be sure to keep up with all that we have going on. I know that this is the end of SnowFall, but we do recap other shows. We are currently also recapping Power Book 2, and I think we have plans to do Bel Air as well. So look out for that. And if you guys have any suggestions for shows that you'd like to see recapped, you can drop that in the comment section as well. Any last words before we close out?
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I know we've said it before, but if you haven't seen some of our interviews with some of the cast from SnowFall, like Angela Lewis, aka Aunt Louie, Gail Bean, we interviewed her for P Valley and SnowFall, and Scully, DeAndre Bonds, and Christine Horn, who played Black Diamond. So check out our interview playlist.
Absolutely. So on that note, I think I need something to drink because I didn't talk so much this episode. So we're going to call it a night. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure you continue to follow us and keep up with all of the shows that we do. So have a good night, and thanks again for watching.
Good night.
Bye.
Look at you. You're running in circles. Which way will you turn? Look at you. You're stuck in the fire. You'll just have to burn. There ain't no sympathy for the broken man. No. You better find your way.